What if you could visit the planets of our solar system just for a few minutes? It might sound like the adventure of a lifetime, but on most of these worlds, those minutes would also be your last. Take Venus. If you landed there, the planet's crushing atmosphere would squeeze you like an empty plastic bottle. Painful, yes, but it wouldn't last long. Maybe 5 seconds, though they would feel like the longest 5 seconds you'd ever experience. Venus has an extremely dense atmosphere, and with that density comes overwhelming pressure, about 92 times greater than what you feel on Earth. In less than a millisecond, your spacesuit would begin to crumple. After 1 second, the suit's structure would fail. Trapped inside as it collapsed, your body would begin to compress. Within the next few seconds, your skin and muscles would be squeezed, blood vessels would rupture, and your organs would begin to shut down. Soon after, you'd lose consciousness, and that would be the end. And pressure isn't the only problem. That thick atmosphere traps heat, creating a runaway greenhouse effect. Venus's surface temperature reaches about 465 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead, and nearly as hot as lava. Within seconds, the heat would begin to affect you. After about a minute, your internal temperature would start rising. Nausea, fatigue, and intense sweating would follow as your organs overheated. After 10 minutes, you'd lose consciousness. Brain damage and cardiac arrest would soon follow. And even before that, the air itself would kill you. Venus's atmosphere is mostly carbon dioxide, making it impossible to breathe. Sulfuric acid clouds would also corrode your suit and burn your skin. Survival rating for Venus, 1 out of 10. Now what if you tried Mercury instead? Mercury is the closest planet to the Sun, so you might expect unbearable heat everywhere. But Mercury has a secret. On its night side, temperatures drop to around 180 degrees C. Because Mercury has almost no atmosphere, it can't hold on to heat. So once night falls, the surface cools rapidly. At first, you might feel fine. Then numbness would creep into your fingers. The first sign of hypothermia. Tingling would turn to shivering. After about 10 minutes, movement would become difficult. Your muscles would stiffen, confusion would set in, and coordination would fade. You wouldn't die immediately, but after about an hour in such extreme cold, your body would finally give out. Mercury's night side might earn a 3 out of 10. At least you'd have time to look around. But Mercury's day side is another story. Temperatures there reach about 427 degrees, and intense solar radiation bombards the surface. Without protection, your skin would burn almost instantly, and radiation would begin damaging your cells in fractions of a second. Within minutes, hyperthermia would set in. Nausea, delirium, organ failure, and eventually unconsciousness. Mercury's day side earns a 2 out of 10. What about Mars? The planet many people hope humans will one day colonize. Mars may look promising, but it's far from friendly. Its atmosphere is extremely thin and mostly carbon dioxide. Without a spacesuit, you'd quickly suffocate. Because the atmospheric pressure is less than 1% of Earth's, a suit failure would cause gases in your blood to form bubbles. Your skin would swell, and within several minutes, you'd die. Even with a functioning suit, Mars has planet-wide dust storms that can last for weeks. Fine dust can clog air filters, damage equipment, and disable life support systems. Mars might get a 6 out of 10, but only with serious technology keeping you alive. Farther out lies Jupiter, the largest planet in the solar system. But Jupiter has no solid surface, only thick layers of gas. As you descended, violent storms, powerful winds, and massive lightning strikes could disable your spacecraft, leaving you trapped in a freezing, powerless capsule. Jupiter earns about a 5 out of 10. Spectacular, but deadly. Saturn is just as dangerous. Its famous rings are made of ice and rock traveling at incredible speeds. A collision with even a small fragment could destroy a spacecraft. Deeper in Saturn's atmosphere, extreme pressure, intense heat, and winds of up to 1,100 km/h would finish the job. Saturn earns an 8 out of 10. Then there's Uranus, an ice giant with the coldest atmosphere of any planet. Methane in the air is toxic, and temperatures near 224 degrees Celsius could make materials brittle enough to crack. Deep inside the planet, Pressures may even be high enough to compress carbon into diamonds, including the carbon in your own body. Uranus gets a dramatic 10 out of 10. Neptune, similar to Uranus, has the fastest winds in the solar system, reaching 2,100 km/h. These supersonic winds could tear a spacecraft apart. Extreme turbulence and pressure would subject you to intense G-forces, causing unconsciousness within minutes and complete destruction soon after. Neptune earns a 2 out of 10, fast and violent. And finally, Pluto. Though it's a dwarf planet, it's still deadly. Temperatures there fall to around 239 degrees Celsius. A small failure in your suit's insulation would lead to frostbite within seconds. Soon after, body fluids would begin freezing, hypothermia would set in, and unconsciousness would follow within minutes. Death would come quickly. Pluto might get a 7 out of 10 for being swift and relatively painless. So, what if you really could visit the planets of our solar system? It would be an unforgettable journey, but also a very short one. The real question is, if you had to choose, which planet would you risk visiting first?